Can a cheap supplement even exist?
All of this happens because it's looked at as just a business. This is not that kind of business. This is a business of responsibility, because you're not decorating someone's vanity. You're actually fixing something deep and fundamental relating to their health, which will have a repercussion for their family, for their work, for their mental peace. It cannot be looked at as just a business. The most powerful things are the simple ones. The same ingredient, right, can be available in two different price points when it is clinically validated, proven, standardized, as opposed to something that can fluctuate in purity. The process of us actually getting a product to the shelf goes through almost a year of white paper analysis, pilot studies for efficacy, of theoretical literature, what is the synergy of ingredients, do they have bad interactions with one another? And then after a year of all of this groundwork that's done is when we work with our affiliate network of manufacturers to create a product. Of course, see, there's a trifecta, right? There's lifestyle, there's nutrition, which is food, and then there's supplementation. So when the other two are in place, the supplementation can really help. My family, my extended family, my partner's families, that's the first measure. Our products are made for ourselves first.
A lot of people think protein shakes are bad, and they are bad if you're obviously being sold the wrong quality, you're taking it at the wrong time, too much, too many additives, not checking batch tests. So I think protein shakes can be extremely dangerous for you. Hi, welcome to the Honest Food and Lifestyle Show, a part of our Wellness Reset. On this show, we have one simple vision. Which product do we trust in the market? Which food product, which supplement, which lifestyle product? Who do we go to? Do we listen to influencers? Do we listen to founders? Do we trust Google reviews? Do we look at FSSAI reports? We don't know. We're confused, and that's the problem that we're trying to solve. So what we do on the Honest Food and Lifestyle Show, we bring in the founder. We bring in a founder who is committed and committing to you today the value, the quality, and the integrity of their product. Hit that subscribe button so that you are aware of our most honest founders and their products in our country. Today I have with me Shivam. Hi, Shivam.
Hi, Luke.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Lovely to see you.
Before we even go into this, I wanted to say a few words about him. When I was looking, people following him on social media, a couple of months ago, I put out a post. I said, listen, I need the most honest brands when it comes to supplements, when it comes to proteins, when it comes to daily staples like your dal, your chawal, your spices. Why do I need this information? Because when our clients and our patients come to us, we need to give them sources of food that can work as medicine along with their conventional medicines. We couldn't find any of that in our country. Out of all the founders, we had a handful who came and said, hey, Luke, test my products. And we said, hey, we don't want to test your products. We will randomly pick up products from different parts of the country and test it on our own, because we don't want you to give us a batch which you've tested and we test it. And we had a couple of founders, Shivam is one of them, that come and said, you can take any of my products and test them. Today, we've decided to get Shivam on the show because he works in a very critical part of our supply chain when it comes to nutraceuticals and it comes to food products. So Shivam, before we even start today, I have a pledge that I would like you to read out and take in front of our audience.
Today, I pledge to every viewer that every single claim I make about my product is 100% true. My name is Shivam Hingorani, and I'm the founder of Ace Blend.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
We should have a lie detector test. Absolute truth.
Yeah. No, I think it's important. Why are we doing this pledge? Because I think, while influencer marketing is growing, it's also become very toxic and negative. I don't need an influencer to judge a product if I have a founder who can come and speak to the audience directly. And of course, while there will be, I'm in the space of nutrition and holistic medicine, integrative medicine. Do we make mistakes sometimes? Of course we do. But we have to own up for those mistakes. We've got to fix those problems, because if someone's paying us money, it is our job to give them that value. And I expect the same thing to happen with food companies and anyone charging people for their hard-earned money. So the reason we do the pledge is for that. So Shivam, your journey with Ace Blend has been phenomenal. I think I look at your reviews online. We study founders, reviews online, etc., and they're just beautiful and positive things said. You came to us to test every one of your products, and we went ahead and did that, and that's why you have the Pink Tiger stamp. But moving beyond that, why has the nutraceutical industry become so corrupt? We have people who are popping supplements and their levels don't increase. We have people wasting a ton of money on supplements when they don't even know it. They're being influenced by marketing. A lot of companies have huge budgets to spend on marketing to deceive people into buying a supplement, number one, that they may not need, and number two, the quality can actually cause more harm than do good.
Look, I think the fundamental issue generally in our supplement market is the intent of starting the business. The problem is that it's looked at like any other business, right? May it be clothing, may it be, beauty, everything that's like external, topical. When there's a trend and when there's an uprising of demand from the consumer, people look at businesses as a profit and loss sheet, right? As something where you can maybe, grow exponentially and sell and, and cash. And all of this happens because it's looked at as just a business. But this is not that kind of business. This is a business of responsibility and ownership, because you're not decorating someone's vanity. You're actually fixing something deep and fundamental relating to their health, which will have a repercussion for their family, for their work, for their mental peace. It cannot be looked at as just a business. That's, I think, the fundamental issue here. As per, our industry is different because it's not an industry created demand, it's a consumer uprising. And COVID has, amplified this information and going down to like the grassroots level of what is immunity. General people didn't really pay attention to that. Today it's different because that knowledge has become omnipresent. And people are looking at that as an opportunity to encash, which is not the right way, right? It has to be intent driven. It has to be solving something fundamental with sound science backing it, right? It cannot be, okay, great, this is a demand. I see this, business report. I will find a contract manufacturer, fulfill this demand, get some cute packaging and, run some BOGO offers and sell it at a low cost. The problem is the intent, right? You cannot look at this as just a business when there is a very large element of responsibility and ownership attached to it. So I think if the intent is right and the vision is correct, it will manifest in the correct way. And I think every founder in our field, and the more the merrier, right? Because it grows the market, it grows the awareness. At an intent level, it needs to be authentic.
I agree with you because, we have a large following. We have brand integrity with us. It's not uncommon for us to get a call every 10 days from an extremely rich person saying, hey, let's get into the nutraceutical business. Luke, I'll give you equity. I'll give you this. They have no science. They have no structure. Their intent is wrong. And that's why till today we've never endorsed. I used to be part of a nutraceutical company. I left it when intention changed because quality dropped immediately. When quality started to drop because intention changed, I felt there was no more role. Why did I create that nutraceutical company? Because there was a lack of honest nutraceuticals, and I'm talking about 14 years ago, when we needed certain ingredients that were not available in our country and not everyone could afford to fly down from the US and London.
Correct.
You're right, the day the intent changed, quality dropped. When cost cutting became an issue, the quality of the product suffered. People were not willing to take a hit on their profit margins. So I saw greed, we saw the wrong intent, and I feel grateful that I exited that company at that particular point today. And then you also realize that if it's not your expertise and passion, why be in it? Leave it to the experts.
Absolutely. No, I just, before we continue, I just want to say, I've worked with you on a personal front because ever since I wanted to get my products tested by you, it's been fascinating working with someone like you because you don't look at the monetary aspect, not even in the top 3 in the list of importance. It comes way at the end, only if and when it can be authentically, created and generated. It's amazing to have someone that is so, standing for authenticity with absolute brute force, if I may say that. And that's amazing.
No, thank you for that. And that's a good time to pause. Have you paid money to be on the show today?
Not at all.
Great. We want everyone to know that on this show, no one pays to be here on this show. We hand select, we will invite certain people, and you'll be surprised at the amount of people who will not land on the show because they will not take the pledge. If they don't take the pledge, they're not on the show. So no, thank you for sharing that. And for us, we have a responsibility to our patients. If they're coming to us for nutrition and we can't be responsible to find out clean nutrition for them or our families or our loved ones, I mean, that just breaks the whole thing. So my hidden agenda is what food do I eat, my family, and my patients. And that's how it is.
Amazing.
You being the founder of this, can you explain to our audience, what are your checks for quality? How do you ensure that, like I'm using AceBlend, my clients are using AceBlend, my sickest clients who need supplementation are using AceBlend as recommended by their doctors or us? Explain to our audience the process behind that integrity in your product and how you maintain it.
So more than an SOP, it's really the DNA of the company. If you look at the makeup of who is part of the ownership of the company, that's where the interesting thing really lies. So, when I started AceBlend, Luke, it was just a hobby, right? It was a hobby to work with a simple digesting protein, which is a simple ingredient, with a few athletic cohorts that were my friends in and around Bombay. But the vision was so passion-driven that authenticity and science-backed were these words that were kind of just rotating around in my head, in my dreams, in my thoughts. And I wanted to understand how the industry as a whole is progressing. And that's what led me to a very crucial industry fair that happens by the name of Vita Foods. I went to Singapore. And I think when the vision is pure and the intent is strong, you end up meeting the right people, like how we're sitting here today. It's a figment of our imagination and manifestation that's led to this even today. And similarly, I met someone who's now a co-founder in my company, and he's running this phenomenal operation since the past 25 years, building absolute quality ingredients. The company is called Biogen. The gentleman I work with is Saif Mekri. And that relation has become so symbiotic and beautiful, where we leverage this domain expertise that he has through his network of PhDs and food technologists and DRDO scientists, and converting all of that domain expertise into simple lifestyle product.
That's another question, audience. We want to teach you, like if you're buying a brand tomorrow that's marketed, whatever reasons, maybe they have a great product, the kind of questions that you ask the founders and these companies. Tell us about your research team. Who is on your research team? Who's heading research? Because a product without research is not a nutraceutical company. They're distributors to you. And you want to have a company in nutraceuticals and proteins that has a division that is constantly looking at research, changing research, everything that goes into your product, because that's what you're paying for. Sorry, go ahead, please.
No, absolutely. It's exactly on that same wavelength. So it's not just the SOP, it's the DNA. And now that we have all of these proficient people from the R&D space and the clinical research space with all that muscle come onto your cap table, they cannot stoop down to general market dynamics. We have to maintain our place, right? So the process of us actually getting a product to the shelf goes through almost a year of white paper analysis, of pilot studies for efficacy, of theoretical literature that is, what is the synergy of ingredients? Do they have bad interactions with one another? And then after a year of all of this groundwork that's done is when we work with our affiliate network of manufacturers to create a product, as opposed to looking at the West, a trending product, cutting this entire exercise short by going directly to the contract manufacturer and launching a product fast. You see the difference? And that difference is because of the DNA of the entire cap table that we have. So we're not a marketing company, right? We're a company that does end up marketing all the research that we've worked on over months and months to actually lead to that product.
So if tomorrow, if any of the consumers had questions for your brand around the science of certain products, would your team be open to explaining it to them?
So it's not just my team, and that's just because we're so excited about the research that I personally have spoken to like tens of thousands of customers.
So you're open to it. That's amazing.
Absolutely open to it. From a ground up, like you can speak to the most important, to someone who's just, whose job is to just answer queries. All of us are accessible to actually answer any and every questions people have.
That's amazing. One more question. Batches can go wrong. It's life. There are so many. We had another founder talking about how sometimes a change in humidity can change an entire batch. Okay. And that can happen. It can never, ever be perfect. How do you manage this? What is your rigor around batch testing? I'd love for you to explain that, please.
It's inevitable that a batch can get spoiled because of simple, environmental issues. It's not an ingredient that's spoiled, it's an environment that can corrupt it, right? That's why a company needs to have very strong QC, right? It's a 2-layered QC. With the first layer, firstly, after a shelf stability test has been conducted, right? That's the number one crucial thing. And that, when it translates into a product, it has to have very integral QC parameters that make sure the end product does not have any heavy metals. It does not have any mold that can develop over time. And that is something that we're very, very stringent about. In fact, we're a company that doesn't claim organic or get an organic certificate for a price. We actually test for 522 pesticides on every single end product. And we do this batch over batch over batch. There have been multiple times where a batch has gotten spoiled because of humidity, because there are hydroscopic ingredients that are very sensitive to moisture in the environment, like nitrates that we work with. They've been coagulated before. We've had coagulation happen even after the QC has been passed, and the customers receive something that is coagulated. And then we explain to the customer how that can simply be broken up, or we take their batch back. So this is an ongoing process.
Okay.
Right? Every industry has it. Ours has it too. Yes, we need to be ultra careful that it does not happen at a wide scale level. But yes, it is something that even the largest companies have to take ownership for.
Right. Yeah. So if a consumer wants to ask you for a batch report of any of your products, would your team be willing to share that?
It's our responsibility to.
Excellent.
There is
Thank
no
you
question.
For that. Remember to hit the subscribe button, because that's how you're going to learn more and more about how you create your honest food and lifestyle change for you and your family. Does your own family consume your products? Do you consume your products and your family?
I think out of 14 products, I have about 10, because the other 4, are not as per my requirement. It's function driven. My family starts consuming the product as soon as we finish the R&D level before it goes into manufacture. That's because my excitement level of what these products offer, really.
Yeah.
Right? So many little issues that my mom and dad have had, that are lifestyle centric, have been fixed just because of course, see, there's a trifecta, right? There's lifestyle, there's nutrition, which is food, and then there's supplementation. Yeah. So when the other two are in place, the supplementation can really help. So yes, my family, my extended family, my partner's families, that's the first measure. Our products are made for ourselves first.
Absolutely. No, I like that, because there are a lot of fake founders in our country. And of course, I'll never call out names because I don't believe in spreading negativity. But they run nutraceutical companies and they fly in their own personal supply of supplements from the US and the UK. So the point is, I'm happy you do that. Do you have children?
No, I don't.
If and when you do have children, will you give your children, when they're of the right age, your products?
Of course. Oh my God. Absolutely. Not even a question.
Can a cheap supplement even exist? I know India is a price-sensitive market, and this is one of our biggest downfalls, why healthcare is becoming sick care. I mean, I've been in the industry long enough to know we've worked with medical doctors from across the US and Japan to understand that some supplements will be expensive because of the quality of the ingredient. In India, you can find someone selling a supplement at 2,000 rupees, and you can find someone selling it at 200 rupees. I would like for you to talk about the importance of price point, synthetic vitamins and minerals, and how people are managing with these low cost points.
So there are different qualities and grades of ingredients. Let's talk about one ingredient in particular. Let's talk about lutein. Lutein is a marigold extract, incredible for eye health.
Nice, yeah.
Right? Now, a generic lutein that's sourced from China with not a very validated supply chain is easily accessible to anyone who wants to include a lutein in their formulation, right? So that's one kind of lutein which can be available at a bulk cheaper price. Then there are luteins which are clinically backed, that are tested for efficacy, that have purity studies, that have double-blinded placebos that are proven, with different demographics across the world for absolute efficiency. And all of that costs the company money to invest into creating something that can stand the test of time and efficacy, right? So the same ingredient, right, can be available in very two different price points when it is clinically validated, proven, standardized, as opposed to something that can fluctuate in purity.
Right.
So the intelligence of that hasn't trickled down right to the end user. And it's a great opportunity for companies to misuse that, right? So yes, there can be ingredients, of the same type in very different price ranges, but this is the logic behind why they usually come at different, price ranges. It's because of the validation studies that go behind all of this, right? So I hope that answers.
Yeah, no, I think it does. So I need to send out this message to our audience that the cheaper your supplement, the more suspicious or the more questions you need to ask, because it is not possible to get cheap supplements. Now, as companies kind of grow and get more efficient with their processes, I'm sure you'll look at reducing price over time, etc.
Yes.
Because we've had so many brands that have come to us charging a large amount, but their ingredients were synthetic in nature and not validated. So they're charging the customer who's thinking they're getting a high quality ingredient, but their profit margins are larger because they're using the bulk
brand value and bulk cheaper.
That's a huge problem in our country, and those vitamins and minerals don't work.
So one way in which a price that is high can get a little lower is when a company really becomes proficient in its supply chain.
Right.
When you build deep relations with the company that owns the patent of that ingredient, and your volumes grow and you build a better relation and you commit certain volumes, a marginal decrease can happen, but not a substantial, significant one.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the logic behind how the pricing strategy works at a very ingredient level, which then translates to a product level.
Great. No, thanks for answering that. Now I want to move straight into another question revolving. Look what's happening around. There are companies that are growing overnight. They're hiring influencers, etc. We also are aware of companies that hire influencers to bring down another brand, etc. How does that make you feel? You know what's happening around. How does it make you feel? And what's your take on this whole thing?
So, honestly, Luke, we pay very less attention to what's happening around us, right? This mission requires so much time and devotion that you got to really focus on what's at hand. Yes, to increase awareness, we have to work with influencers, or rather what we call them internally is KOLs, right? Key opinion leaders.
Nice.
And how we do it with them is actually we give them some product for them to use for some time until they, believe in it.
Yeah.
And then we request them to talk about it. Right? That's our approach with it. There are many lifestyle, influencers that we do work with who are all into the fitness realm. But telling people and using agencies to give bad reviews to a competition company, this is normal practice.
Yeah,
right?
It's huge in our country.
It's normal practice, and it's something that we just are so away from, because I think there's a major element of karma, right, which kind of manifests in its own way in some time. So you have to be cognizant, of all of these nuances when you're running something that is affecting and impacting so many lives. Mm-hmm. If someone doesn't get a product because of a bad review and the product's great, it's not nice, right? It's finally about what's nice and it's intent over profit.
Yeah.
That is very important for our
industry. The profits and the money always follows. Yeah.
Oh yes, absolutely.
So you're super fit, you work out, you maintain yourself, etc., which is you walk the talk. What supplements do you take? And audience, it doesn't mean if he's taking those supplements, you take it too. We have to break this idea of, someone's taking it, so I should take it too. Like I have foundational supplements I take. What are some of the supplements that you take?
So I have my general construct is 2 meals and 2 shakes, right? The shakes are our protein shakes that we have. I have a 30 gram and I have a 20 gram, which are charged with various superfoods. I have magnesium every day. I take glycine before I sleep. I have omega with my lunch. I have nitrates with my workout. And along with regular coffee, I have a lion's mane cup of coffee every day.
Yeah.
So just these that I've named, they have multiple ingredients within them.
I like your coffee, by the way.
Awesome, thank
you. I
you.
like them. They don't give you that complete coffee
spike
high.
And crash.
It's a nice balance right through and stuff.
Yeah.
It's good to know that, because a lot of people think protein shakes are bad, and they are bad if you're obviously being sold the wrong quality, you're taking it at the wrong time, too much, too many additives, not checking batch tests, etc. I think protein shakes can be extremely dangerous for you. I take 2 shakes a day. I do 30-30. I have a small appetite, so I have to use 2 shakes and stuff like that. But you got the foundational vitamins going well, omegas, etc. These are the foundations. That's what we try to teach people. Get your foundations right, and then everything else, if you need it, you take it, you add to it, with expertise and stuff. So I want you to give a couple of tips to the audience. Like, let's say today they want to start on a journey of getting into a nutraceutical, brand that they want to buy, or protein. what should they look out for as consumers? What are some of the questions that they should look at? Because the marketing is totally deceptive in most cases. So I would look at the ad, maybe it'll attract me to the brand, but then I would want questions to ask you to really see if I'm getting my answers. So how would you train a consumer to look out for, so they're getting their money's worth and they're not harming themselves?
Right. So I think there are some no-brainers, right? Heavy metal, pesticide, and a nutritional accuracy, right? Which is a third-party report that has to match with the label. But there will be so many things that, go on in an individual's mind that we'll never, you can't intellectualize, right? Like, for example, who is the R&D,
Yes.
team behind your company? I think you can, beyond just the factual questions, build a list of 3-4 questions that are very personal to your apprehensions.
Yeah.
That are, will cater to your intellect in terms of logic. And then have a conversation with the CRM team and just speak to them, right? If they can convince you at a logical and emotional level and give you the confidence beyond, of course, the brass tacks of being clean, which is just a starting point. It's not the end goal. Clean is a starting point, right?
Yeah.
Efficacy is the end point. So if you can be convinced after solving all your personal questions, that's when you should proceed, because it's such an intimate thing.
Yeah, sorry. Ace Blend creates that platform for people to come up to your teams and ask your questions.
Yeah.
A lot of brands have formulations and they talk about enhanced absorption, etc., etc. I've noticed most of your products are just clean, vitamins, minerals, etc., etc., etc. Any reason why you've done it that way?
The most powerful things are the simple ones. It's really the truth. It may sound cliche, but it's really the truth, and that definitely does apply to nutrition as well. People need to know what function they look to improve, rather than giving you an all-in-one pill.
Yeah.
Right? There is no all-in-one pill. Like, even the clothes we buy, the suits we wear are tailor-made, right? Nutrition works in a similar fashion to a very large extent like that. Of course, there are many nutrients that work for a larger group of people. But being nutrient-driven, focusing on an efficacious dose of that nutrient, that is the key. If I put too many things, I will not be able to dose you with something that really works.
Yeah.
Right? So giving the dose of that specific nutrient in that canvas size that you have of either a capsule or a drink or a sachet is crucial, because only when you feel the effects is when you will really start to improve.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why we have such a high retention rate, because consumers feel that difference. So things like absorption, things like doses, things like, the quality of the ingredient itself, all of this far surpasses how decorated the label is. So again, it's part of the DNA rather than an SOP. So how we approach nutrition itself comes from a serious amount of domain expertise, which just has its ways of translating into the final product and the marketing.
No, I love that, because I think most people, to stay alive in the market or progress, are coming up with formulations and clinically backed, etc., etc. But when you actually look at the science, the science has been done on individual ingredients, and it takes years to figure out how synergistically they will actually bring the claim that they're making to life. And simple science, simple foundations of immunology teach us that the simplest standalone supplements with a great lifestyle will come together and give you, in effect, way more than most formulations that exist. And that actually impressed me when I looked at your range. You were looking at clean ingredients, no fancy formulations, no fancy, etc., and stuff like that. Dose-centric and quality-centric.
Yes.
So please understand, you have a brand here that is inviting you with your questions. Get clarity. Please do not be driven by price point and marketing alone. Most people in India are being fooled. We ran the Pink Tiger initiative for a while. And like I said, we're not here to spread negativity. But today, if I have to publish the names of all the brands who have created such harmful and terrible products, okay, it's going to be, I'll become famous overnight. That's one thing. We're not here for that. But number two, we're not into that. That's why we want to bring honesty in front of you. Now you have the platform. All you need to do is take responsibility and ask the questions, gain information, become more knowledgeable about what you're putting in yourself. It's so important to understand that what you're feeding yourself can either harm you, nourish you, fix your problems, or make you worse. Shivam, before we end, it's been great. Thank you for your honesty. I have one more pledge, because my intention of this show is hit that subscribe button if you don't want to miss building your kitchen and your lifestyle with the best and most honest products in our country. I want you to take another pledge. Okay, it's very important that we have this platform where people can reach out directly to y'all.
Yes.
I'm sure you'll have your ways of marketing, etc. That's in every company. But I like the fact that you'll have created a platform where you're happy to answer, you're happy to take responsibility for your batches, you're able to take responsibility for everything you create. Great. I'd love to end with you reading out this pledge, please.
Done. Okay, let's do it. I promise every viewer watching this in India and across the world that my brand will never compromise on quality and honesty.
Thank you so much, Shivam. Which are your
Thank you,
highest
Luke.
selling products, just out of curiosity?
So our omega is exceptional, primarily because of the concentration of the oil, the EPA, the DHA. Doctors love it. Magnesium is very strong for us, and believe it or not, curcumin. Our curcumin, because of the dosing and the ingredients that work with it to absorb, phenomenal results.
Would you be okay, I mean, we can explore this offline, would you be okay adding certain disclaimers on your website with curcumin, such as, India is a country where we have fatty liver
Yes.
silently growing and it becomes cirrhotic. So while curcumin is great for a particular stage, but once the liver becomes cirrhotic, curcumin can actually be more harmful.
Correct.
So if we're able to give you the science, is your company happy to put disclaimers? Because in India, it sounds great,
Yeah.
but the wrong people can sometimes take it.
Correct.
And would you be open to that?
So January is all of this, what you're talking about, is going to reflect on our new website.
Excellent. Yeah.
So
I just want
disclaimers
our
are
consumers to be more educated so they know we're a fan of curcumin for the right reasons, but for many patients, we stop it when their liver reaches a particular grade of fattiness or cirrhosis and stuff like that. And that's what we want our companies to be open to, educating the customer more and more. So I appreciate your honesty. Thank you so much for taking time out and being honest on our show. And good luck with Ace Blend. Thank you.